Welcome back! Before we start, I just wanted to say thank you for your response on the first video. Over 100 views in 24 hours? That's insane! Your comments were so encouraging that I started to work on this video the very next day. Fallout 1 released to critical acclaim with a lot of reviewers agreeing with my grievances about the game, namely the companions being a bit weak, some minor glitches, and the time limit of the game. Tim Cain even agrees on these on his YouTube channel, which I highly recommend if you're a fan of classic Fallout. Fallout 2 released in 1998 in either September 30th or October 29th, sources differ on the wiki. Steam claims that it was released in December. Chris Avellone celebrated the 20th anniversary on the 30th, so frankly I have no idea when this game actually released, but it was sometime in winter of 1998. Man, look at that box art. That armor looks so cool. The art team really outdo themselves in these games. Wait, what's that? Oh no. I'm gonna talk about the internal politics of a now defunct video game company again. Okay, so who are Black Isle Studios? Well, they were a division of Interplay formerly known as Dragonplay. Before it was even known as Black Isle Studios, they began work on Fallout 2, but development was a little shaky since Tim Cain left. So why did Cain leave? Well, I know I made it seem like development was fun and easygoing with the small studio in the last video, but that wasn't exactly the case. See, Fallout 1 was originally planned to release in the spring of 97, but it was delayed until mid-September. But in that little stretch before the deadline, they discovered a game-breaking bug. The code was a single tiny error. It was supposed to be a less than, but it was a less than equal. There you go, easy fix. They shipped the game and it was happy ever after. Over the next couple of months, the Fallout 2 team, without Cain, worked on a pitch and presented it to Fargo.
When you like what you see, turn the knob to the right. When you don't like what you see, turn it left.
He didn't like it. Fargo wanted Cain to work on the game, but Cain was apprehensive. There were a lot of reasons, and I'm not going to go into depth with them. You can find more in this video. But it was mainly the humour, the tone, the references, and time crunch. So Tim Cain, Jason Anderson, and Leonard Boyarsky led to form their own company, Troika Games. Troika Games unfortunately closed their doors in February of 2005. They released 3 games: Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic Obscura, The Temple of Elemental Evil, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. But sadly they didn't do that well commercially. Unfortunately, this is probably the last time I'll talk about Tim in relation to Fallout, which makes me really sad because he commented on my last video. Hey Tim, if you're watching this, maybe we should do a little interview. Hit me up. Now that I'm done flirting with a married man, let's talk about Black Isle. It was renamed 2 years into its lifespan by Fergus Urquhart, you again, after Troika Games was founded. Development on Fallout 2 was much bigger. Brian Fergo even described it as a sequel to a movie. The production, much like Fallout 1, was filled with time crunch. Developer Scott Everts commented, "I suppose I preferred Fallout because it was something new and different. They were both stressful projects, but I enjoyed working on Fallout more. Fallout 2 became a deathmatch near the end. We had so much content and we had to get it all done." Later released in 1998, only a year after the first, Fallout 2 hits the shelves. Fallout 2 is a sequel. So what happened to the Vault Dweller from the first game? Well, after their exile from the Vault, they found themselves roaming the waste once again. They headed north and found a group of dwellers from Vault 13. They left after they heard what happened to the Vault Dweller. They formed a group together and began a new life in the wasteland. The Dweller fell in love with one of them, someone named Pat. Their small ragtag group grew into a tribe, and then they founded a village known as Arroyo. In the intro, we see a vault. The vault doors open, and the people who come knocking are a group in the power armor of the box art. The dwellers wave to the group and they get shot down by a firing squad of miniguns. 80 years after the Vault Dweller emerged, a great drought hits the north of California. Arroyo is dying, crops are withering, Brahmin are dying, sickness rages across the youth. The village elder, the Vault Dweller's daughter and your mother, chooses you to solve this plight. She tells you about a piece of technology, the Garden of Eden creation kit. The GECK is a marvellous invention. It assists in terraforming the post-nuclear world. It is Arroyo's only hope. Prove yourselves in the Temple of Trials and be their salvation. Pressing new game will bring you to the character creator. Again, it's a lot of text, but you all know what they mean now, right? Age and name mean nothing again, but gender is just a little bit more important than before, namely the people that you can have sex with. Strength, perception, and endurance are all the same, but charisma is actually important. In Fallout 1 you could have all the companions even if your charisma was 1, but in Fallout 2 the amount of companions that you have is determined by your charisma stat. The companion cap is half of your charisma rounded down, so if you had 7 charisma you can have 3 companions at once. Through the game it can be increased by 3, so keep that in mind. Speaking of companions, they're way better in this game. They can be controlled much more in depth, their personalities are more distinct, and they're much stronger. Intelligence and agility are of course always important. Luck too, but less so this time around. Traits are largely the same. Night Person has been replaced with Sex Appeal, which is largely useless. It raises barter prices for the same sex traders but lowers them for the opposite. I'd recommend Gifted, obviously. Finesse and fast shot again, but I have one more recommendation for this game. Small frame. It's one more agility point for the price of losing some carry weight, but there's a lot of storage options in this game. You might have noticed the appearance over here. Unfortunately, it's not a feature of 2, but rather a mod I used. See, I wanted to give an opinion on the base game, but I realised that every mod that I enjoy is purely cosmetic, so I've added 4 mods. I used Killap's unofficial patch, updated by BG Forge. This is purely bug fixes and some engine upgrades, so I won't freak out all the time. Hero appearance by BG Forge, it's just a bit of character customization. NPC armor by B Team, also updated by BG Forge. See, human companions can wear armor, but it's not visually responsive. This just lets you see their armors at a glance. And finally, Cassidy Talking Head by Mad, later worked on by Continuum, and finally updated by BG Forge. It just puts a model in for Cassidy and gives him some voice lines. Skills are a little different this time around. They can be increased to 300% as opposed to 200 before. Over 100% requires more stat points to increase. I suggest this build. Strength 5, Perception 7, Endurance 4, Charisma 6, Intelligence 7, Agility 10, Luck 8. Traits are Fast Shot and Gifted. Tag skills, Small Guns, Lockpick and Speech. But me? Yeah, I let my friends decide my build again. Thanks guys. Meet Dr. Sex. He's 34 and he's a long-haired dude. He's the most charismatic man you'll meet this side of the den. He's gifted and he's got all the sex appeal. You wish you were him. He's skilled with melee weapons and he hits like a truck with or without his super sledge. He's not a real doctor. In my previous video, I felt like I just recited quest steps for you, so I'd like to make this story segment more of my own experience. We're going to be focused on the main quest, but I'll be mentioning little things that I thought were interesting. This is not a holistic view on the story, merely just the way that I personally beat the story. Things will be different for you. There's multiple ways of getting the Gek, there's multiple ways to get to those locations, but we'll get to those later. We find ourselves outside the Temple of Trials as the game begins. We're the Chosen, and we proudly strut in and find ourselves in a room with gigantic ants. Hey, at least it's not rats. And we've got a spear. As a melee specialist, this is a breeze. We fight our way through the temple, get poisoned, and make our way over to a locked door. No issue, just pick the lock and move on. The next door you get to won't budge so easily. You'll need to use a plastic explosive that you find in this part to blow through. The entire area is a massive tutorial. This teaches you that the environment is much more dynamic this time around. We eventually find a tribesman, Cameron, who claims that we need to defeat him in combat before we can leave. This isn't true. We have 3 approaches to this. We can do as he say and beat him in combat, which is really easy. Just gotta lower his health by 20 before he kills you, which he can and will do. You can steal the keys off him and sneak out, or you can use your silver tongue and talk him down. Regardless of how you approach it, we make our way past Cameron and enter the chamber of the jumpsuit. Next, we find ourselves in Arroyo. Welcome to your home village. Like any village, you have an old local woman who thinks that she's in charge.
Don't you tell me what to do. I'll tell you what to do.
I complain a bit about the Temple of Trials trying to kill me, which she doesn't like. She claims that the Chosen should be strong enough to actually save the village, which, yeah, fair enough. The Elder gives you a bit of direction and some items. She tells us to head towards a town called Klamath to find a man called Vic. This Vic guy traded us this flask, which means that he should know where the Holy Vault 13 is. And that's where we can find the Gek. Alright, so we have a lead. We head out on our grand adventure. Oh, we should see Hakunin before first. Maybe he has some healing powder for us.
The plants of Dark Soul have infested my garden again.
Oh great, he needs his garden weeded. Okay, so we go and kill the plants from the Little Shop of Horrors.
Feed me, Carbon! Feed me now!
And we go back to Hakunin, who will teach us how to make healing powder. He'll heal you and remove poison for free. Next up, we help our fellow tribesman Nagor by finding his dog Smoke. These geckos can be ran past pretty easily. Return Smoke to Nagor for 100 XP. We make our way to the bridge and speak to Minok, who has a really cool spear. He tells us that we can make one, but we need a piece of flint. Get used to this, Fallout 2 loves fetch quests. We can get the flint from our horrible aunt in a multitude of ways. Dr. Sex uses overwhelming charisma to charm her and just sort of ask for it nicely. Minok upgrades one of our spears, and we leave to hit the road to Klamath. Welcome to Klamath, a huge city to you, but frankly unimpressive town. When we walk in, we can find a notice board of local quests that you can do. You can do whatever's interesting to you. We go into the Buckners and talk to Maida. She's a horrible racist to tribal, especially Sulik, who is definitely not a slave, I promise. Sulik is a tribal that got really drunk and started wrecking the place. He's paying off his tab, and he's definitely not slavery. We can pay his tab, but we can do it in another way too. We'll get back to that later. She also tells us about the den, which she recommends that we don't go to. We speak to Arden, who says that her fiancé, Smiley, is missing. We make a mental note and go outside. I decided to help Tor, a slow but pleasant man. He wants us to help out with some moo-moos. Apparently they're being attacked, so we decide to help out and deal with these rad scorpions. When we're taken back to the map, we find a building named Vic's. Oh, that's who we need. Oh, hi, random child. We find another set of water flasks and a radio. Take both of these. We return to the Buckner house and talk to Whiskey Bob. He has a small job for us refueling the still. It's an easy affair and some quick money, so we do it. Alright, we should probably go and see if we can find Smiley. He's to the north, so let's head over. We fight our way through the golden geckos, who are actually really difficult at this stage of the game. The goo on the ground isn't just cosmetic, it will burn your feet and deal damage. We make our way to a locker containing some rubber boots, which will allow you to walk over the goo without taking damage. You can find a pair in Klamath too, but I forgot about that. Almost dying a handful of times, we eventually make our way to Smiley and escort him to the entrance. We make our way back to Klamath and talk to Arden, who will consider Sulik's tab paid. We have to talk to Maida, who deserves a death penalty, but seeing her cry over losing her slave is way more fun. Now that Sulik is a free man, we should talk to him.
We and I thank you. Name Sulik. How can we repay?
Oh, he's tribal. Cool. Sulik is a great companion. He's skilled with melee weapons, but later becomes very useful with submachine guns. The bone in his nose is from his grandfather, as in his bones. He calls it Grampy Bones and claims that it allows him to communicate with the spirits of his tribe. He comes with a sledgehammer and a leather jacket. You can equip these in his companion menu. We head west into Trapper Town and fight our way through a horde of rats. In the caves below, we can find even more rats and fight our way to a massive albino rat. Its name is King Rat. Yeah, really. Making our way back to the surface, we find a broken car. We can take a fuel injection system, which is
A surprise tool that can help us later.
With our first companion and our next step clear, we head towards a den. Ah crap, random encounters. Let's talk about those real quick. Random encounters can happen just like Fallout 1. The Outdoorsman skill can allow you to skip random encounters altogether, which is very nice. Same deal as Fallout 1, it takes place on the coast, desert, mountain and city. You'll notice a greater diversity of encounters. The mountains encounters are quite unique too, because you can actually go inside these caves. They usually contain hostile NPCs, but often contain a lot of money and items too. Driving in the car will also give you a 50% chance to avoid random encounters. Difficulty will affect encounters too. On easy, your encounter rate is decreased by 15% and it removes 2 NPCs. On hard mode, you'll run into encounters 15% more and you'll find 2 more NPCs. Perception is slightly involved too, since it dictates how far away you are from the hostiles when you spawn onto a random encounter. After a small bit of travel, we find ourselves in the den. The den is a
Wretched hive of scum and villainy.
It's full of drug fiends, gangsters and slavers. Awful place. Even from a non-law point of view, it sucks to be here. The kids outside stores will steal your items if you walk past. Here's a little trick. They can't steal while you're in combat mode, so you can just press A to enter combat and run past. You can also just fucking kill them, but people don't respond to that very well. We walk into Flick's shop, but he has a shitty attitude. We tell him off and he attacks us. Nobody cares about Flick, he's a bad person, so you can kill him and it won't aggro anyone. We can help ourselves to his inventory. This will be helpful, even if just to sell. We head over to Smitty's junkyard and we see a car, and it's in really good shape, all things considered. We talked to him about this fuel injector that we found. He said it would make the car more fuel efficient. You know, if it could run. We can repair the car, but we need a fuel cell controller first. We'll come back when we find one. Oh, you can use the trunk as storage too, so we do that. We see a building called Becky's and go in. It's a casino! Yeah, that gambling exploit doesn't work here. It's only for roulette. So we talk to the owner Rebecca and we ask her if she knows a guy called Vic. She does and says that he's being held by someone called Metzger. Metzger is a slaver, so that can't be good. We say thanks and head over to a random building and we find a woman called Lara. Lara's a gang leader with some work for us. I plan to buy Vic off Metzger like I could have done with Sulik, so any extra cash will help. Her first job is to find out what's being guarded in the church. We head over and use our overwhelming charisma and employ an expert technique called lying to get inside of the church. It's a bunch of chemicals. We tell Lara about it and she's like, oh, that makes sense. And she explains that the chemicals are being used by the people in New Reno to make drugs, and they probably get their chemicals from Vault City. New Reno is a real hive of scum and villainy. The den wishes it was as bad as them. New Reno is the drug capital around here. She offers us a second job, which is real simple. Just go and talk to Metzger and see if she can deal with old business, whatever that means. We go over to the Slavers Guild and Aiden, a guard, stops us. He talks about the slave business, which just annoys me. We ask about Vic, and sure enough, Becky's story lines up. Vic found himself in a bit of trouble with Metzger and he got imprisoned. We ask if we can just buy him, but Aiden doesn't think that it's likely and tells us to go to Metzger ourselves. Metzger seems annoyed with our very presence, so I focus on what I was sent here to do and ask if it was okay if Lara could fight Tyler. He doesn't care as long as someone guards his stuff. This raises an eyebrow. Replacing a goon with a goon changes nothing. Metzger doesn't seem likely to kill us at this moment, so I ask about Vic. Vic sold him a radio that was supposed to pick up transmissions from the Enclave and New Reno, but it didn't, so Metzger captured Vic and forced him to fix it. We can talk to Vic, who says that he needs radio parts to fix it. Luckily, we picked up the radio from Klamath so we can fix it. Vic's off the hook for the whole radio thing now, but he's still a slave. We can buy him back for $1,000! Do you think I'm made of money? Alright, let's just do some more jobs for Lara. After she's got permission, she needs us to find a weakness in Tyler's gang. We wander over to the church, we rizz him up, I'm so sorry, and he reveals that he's throwing a party later. They'll all be drunk later, so that's the best chance she's got. We go and let her know about the party, and she refuses to pay us unless we join her attack. I do need the money. Go on then. Well, that was fun, and we have enough cash to buy Vic. He's a free man now. He owes us a favour, we ask him where Vault 13 is, and he says that there's a Vault City east of here, which isn't what I asked. But, you know, close enough. We ask if he wants to come with us, and he seems quite excited to do so. Vic's damn good as a companion. He's pretty decent with a rifle, and he has really fun dialogue. He calls you boss, but you eventually get a dialogue choice to tell him to stop. I don't do that because I like being called boss. His best skill is repair. If he has a better repair than you, then he'll tag in and do it for you. At this point, just give him the hunting rifle. We've spent enough time around slavers and druggies, but I'm not awfully happy with these slavers doing whatever they want, so I make a mental note and return when I'm better equipped to wipe them all out. On our way over to Vault City, we encounter... what the hell is that thing?
Old man, you will come with us.
Leave us alone. I will never support the cause of your superiors.
I will not ask again. Come now or you'll be made an example of.
I would rather what knowledge I have disappear with me into the grave.
So be it. Kill them all. This is none of your affair. Turn around and walk away.
That thing was enormous, it's double the size of those other people in power armor. They're the same people from the intro, which doesn't bode well. But there's no way in hell that I'm gonna pick a fight with 2 soldiers in power armors and that thing. Fallout 2 does a really good job of making you feel weak. In other games you would just make a quick save and scum the fight, but there's no chance that we'd win against them at this point. We hit the road before we find another settlement, and it can't hurt to see if they have anything to trade. Welcome to MODOK. We head straight into the general store and it's closed. The trader says that it's closed due to the drought, which means that it's not a problem just unique to Arroyo. He says that he does know where a get can be found though, but he won't tell us unless we help him. He wants us to investigate an abandoned farm near here. Apparently a farm just sprung up overnight. They sent one of their people, Carl, to go tend to the crops. Carl claimed to see glowing figures during the night, farming the crops and feeding the animals. Eventually he stopped coming back to town. Some went to the farm to find Carl, but they just found tons of dead bodies, some crucified and some just left to rot in the sun. We agreed to go check this place out, if only just for the get lead. But before we go, I want to check out some of the NPCs here. We enter a building and we speak to Grisham, the owner of the slaughterhouse. He hires us to deal with some wolves that are attacking his Brahmin. I was going to make a joke of this encounter, being like, haha, look how slow it is, but no, it's slow to an unfunny extent. Because of the turn-based nature of the game, the pack of wolves, their Brahmin, and my party all need to do their actions before I can even act again. All the Brahmin kept getting in my way, so my pathfinding was taking me around them where I didn't want to go. Not to mention that Sulik and Vic wouldn't attack anything unless I hit it first. This was about 8 minutes of real life time to kill 10 wolves. It was so bloated, which is an issue that I have with the whole game. We return to Grisham, who pays us $1,000 but deducts $100 because one of the Brahmin died. Whatever, fuck this guy. We go and talk to this guy, Davin, and find out that he's a son of Grisham. We talk for a little bit and then the dialogue option of why don't we get more comfortable comes up. Well, the doctor is in. Davin gets all flustered and said that he never thought that such a beautiful woman would try to seduce him. He then gets surprised that we're in fact not a woman, but we're pretty enough that he doesn't seem to care. He says that he's Caboose and it's on. The screen fades to black and we have sex with Davin. For half an hour? Fucking hell, Doctor, with that name you'd think you'd have more stamina. We wake up in the morning, Grisham bursts into the room and demands to know what happened. He says that he's got to make this right. I getting fucking married? I object.
Don't make me make Davin a widower.
Oh, okay, thanks Grisham. And you two, what the hell are you idiots doing? Help me! Davin is now our forced companion. He completely sucks and he doesn't level up. He has no weapon skills and limited animation. We can't dismiss him at all since he refused to leave. Well, we're married now. A gay marriage too, in 1998 no less. His sister, Maria, is a homophobe now, and his father is surprisingly accepting of this. Love wins. I think that this is the best opportunity I'm going to get to talk about the LGBT and Fallout. Fallout 2 is often credited as being the first game to allow same-sex marriage, but this isn't exactly true. See, the first game that allows same-sex marriage is actually a Game Boy game called Great Greed. At the end of the game, you're presented with a choice to marry one of the princesses that you've met throughout the story. If you ignore this choice and instead speak to the Royal Guard, Lunchbox, or the Royal Administrator Timeout, yeah, this game has weird names, you'll be able to marry them instead. This game came out in 1993, by the way. Fallout 2 is credited as being the second game to allow same-sex marriage, as we just did. Well, I say allows, but I don't feel like I have much agency in this situation. Fallout has a really interesting history with the LGBT. Back in the day, not a lot of people were openly homosexual, even less so were bisexual. Tim Cain at the time was not openly gay, but he was a public advocate for transgender's dignity. Sally, a super mutant in Fallout 1, says that the other mutants talk about her funny. They say that she has a lousy name and constantly refer to her with male pronouns because of her outside appearance. I'm not sure if this is intended to be a trans allegory. It's probably to do with like more body dysmorphia than them being transgender. In Fallout 2, the character can be straight, bisexual, or gay, or roleplay however you want. I was going to talk about some of the later games as they came up, but I don't think I'll have a better chance to talk about it than right now. Fallout 2 allowing you to enter into a same-sex marriage is a really big deal. This was before the Netherlands, the first country to legalise same-sex marriage, even passed a law, which was sometime in 2000 and officially put in place on April 1st of 2001. There are many named LGBT characters in the franchise, including, but definitely not limited to, Davin, Maria, Carol and Greta, who are the adoptive mothers of Gob, one of the first games to depict adoption by same-sex relationship. Flak and Shrapnel, Veronica, Arcade, Christine, Cass, Dr. Dala, Duff, Skara, and Burke. Not to mention all of the romanceable companions in 4 and 76 have no preference, but this is dictated by player action. All the people that I just mentioned are confirmed LGBT via relationships or by very clear statements. There are a ton more characters that flirt or are approving of the characters' flirt attempts, but I don't really think they count. Growing up, playing these games when I was still a teen, still trying to figure out where I belonged with all these unanswered questions and complicated feelings. I don't know, I guess I just really appreciate this kind of representation, especially in a broken world like this. It's like a lot of older people in my life called sexuality and identity a phase and something that was kind of caused by modern society. So to see it survive the end of the world is really comforting. Just like how humans are resilient enough to survive this hellscape, so does their love. And that's just really powerful to me. Look, I know I'm really rambling here, but I like the way that Fallout presented the idea that love, identity, and attraction are this normal thing that kind of just is. I'd like to end this segment with a quote from Jesse Heinig, a developer on Fallout. I think it's important that LGBTQIA+ characters can exist without having to justify their existence as something central to the plot of the story. The character can just be who they are and their role in the story comes from their part in the narrative. He continues, rather these characters exist in the story, just like people in the LGBTQIA+ group exist in our real world, because that's just who they are without this needing to be a central plot point. And I love that. There are stories, a load of them, where sexuality is really important to the story, but Fallout isn't always that. Sexuality is a theme in New Vegas, and we'll talk about that more in depth when we get there. Continuing to help out MODOK, we head over to the ghost farm and notice that the bodies are mounted on spikes. With high perception, we can see that they're all fake. Weird. We continue to explore the area and enter into a small shack. Maybe there's like an item here or something. We fell through the floor. You're right, Vic. We find out that there's actually a group of people here. They call themselves the... Oh, great. The Slags are I don't like saying it. Why did they call them that? Did Google not exist in 1998? Are descendants of a secret militia that sealed themselves underground after the Great War. Hey, that's like us. We talk to their leader Vegir, who wants to strike up a deal with MODOK, and asks us to deliver them a message. Joe is willing to strike up a deal, but he needs to know what happened to Carl before he can trust them. So we head back to Vegir and tell him about the situation. He said that they only scared him off of the farm, so we might find him towards the northwest. We only have a month to find Carl before Joe attacks the Slags, so we hightail it back to the northwest. Northwest is Klamath, so we could be there. We go to the den first and it's on the way. Right, so we forgot to check out this diner last time we were here, so we talked to Mom, not our mom, but she doesn't have any info on Carl, maybe the other patrons do. This woman tells me a story about cats. We talked to this drunk guy who claims to be an out-of-work farmer. We ask what his story is, and he sobers up a bit to tell us. He used to be a farmer who worked on the fields. He goes on to say that he saw glowing figures at night. He told his people, but nobody believes him. Well, it's safe to say this is Carl. He's safe and mostly sound. So we return to MODOK and let Joe know. Jesus, 5 days. It's a good thing I went to the den first. He tells us to let Carl know that it's safe to return, but like hell I'm gonna drag myself over there anytime soon. Regardless, he thanks us for saving MODOK. I remind him of his side of the deal, you know, the whole Gek thing. Oh, he fucking lied to me. He recommends that it might be in Gecko, but he's proven to be untrustworthy. I hate MODOK. I hope Vic isn't as much as a liar as Joe. Let's go find Vault City. This does not look like a city. We go into the greeting area, since it would know the most about this place. Oh, never mind, this person only knows how to read from a fucking pamphlet. We ask his co-worker about the vault, who says that it's inside of the city. Oh, and she tells us that the vault is only for citizens. This looks like Ked's place. He's the one that I bought the water flask from. Oh, cool, thanks Vic. We ask him where he got the flask, but he doesn't remember. He used to work a Brahmin Drive for a circuit including Broken Hills, New Reno, Redding, The Den, MODOK, and then back to Vault City, so it could be in one of those areas. He marks all of them on a map, and he also mentions how there's a vault in Vault City. Shocking, I know. We ask if it's Vault 13, which he doesn't know, but he does mention that the central computer might have more info. Great, let's find a way inside, but first I need a drink. Fucking hell, I need a drink in real life too, I'm fucking so thirsty. We talk to the barman and meet Cassidy.
Well now, if it ain't the mysterious stranger, what can I do for you today?
You may think, hey, I've played Fallout 2, that's not what Cassidy sounds like. Well, you're half right, it isn't. Cassidy doesn't have a voice in a vanilla game. The Restoration Project made everyone, even Nukipedia, think that it was cut from the game. The voice in the Restoration Project is done by the brilliant Adam Dravian. Adam is not only the voice of Cassidy, but also a developer and lead writer on the Restoration Project. I recently reached out to him and he actually got back to me. I asked Adam a bunch of questions and I really annoyed him over the holidays, but he was very happy to share some thoughts. I didn't want to break the flow of the video, so we'll get back to that later. We can recruit Cassidy by convincing him to leave this shithole, and he joins us. Cassidy is really good with shotguns and rifles, but he can use unarmed pistols and spears too. He has a heart condition which prevents him from using drugs, but he doesn't need them, he's cool enough already. Drugs don't make you cool. I don't know why I said it like that. Moving on, we move up towards the city proper. We can't get in unless we're a citizen or we have the day pass. We can convince this guy to give us a day pass and head inside. No drugs or alcohol is allowed in Vault City, so we chug this beer in front of the guard and now we're just magically allowed in. We go to the maintenance building on the off chance that they might have a Gek. Dad? Shit, maybe. Oh, she's talking to Vic. We watch them have a little domestic before breaking it up. We talk to Val again and she complains about not having a super toolkit. We can offer to help her finding a tool and a
wrench.
Well, my husband has a tool, so we take that off of him, but we still need a
wrench.
We'll come back later. We go into this building and speak to Lynette, who is a horrible xenophobe and hates us for not being a Vault Dweller. We tell her that we are a descendant of the Vault Dweller, but she doesn't believe us until we prove it. Then she's all rosy. Typical. We still need citizenship to use the central computer, so she offers us the opportunity to become a citizen by helping out with a problem they have in Gecko. The inhabitants of Gecko are operating a power plant, which is leading radiation into the groundwater. She asks us to deal with them. Yeah, we'll see. On our way out, I see a small thing behind the bar, so I go to pick it up. It's a Mr. Nixon doll, and I don't want a doll, so I give it to this kid. He begins playing and he mentions Dad's wrench that they are buried behind these rocks. We dig it up and head back to Val to give her the tools. She tells us to swing by tomorrow. When we come back, she tells us that she was delivered 5 super toolkits that morning. We ask for one and she hands it over. Right, let's go see what we can do about Gecko. We head into the manager's office and we talk to Harold, who I completely forgot to talk about in the last video.
Hello there, smooth skin. The name's Harold.
Harold is one of the people that entered Mariposa with Richard Gray, who eventually became the Master. Harold was also exposed to FEV, but luckily made an escape. By the time of this game, he's still alive and he has a tree growing out of his head. He calls it Bob. Harold now runs a place around here and he tells us that the plant, the power plant, not Bob, needs a new part, the hydroelectric magnetosphere regulator. We ask him where we can find one and he says that Vault City might have one, so we drag ourselves back to Racist City, talk to McClure.
Oh, hi, I'm Troy McClure.
And ask him for the hydro, forget it, we're calling it the bit. He tells us to get the bit from amenities. Great, back to Gecko. We go back to the plant and make our way to Festus. We try to convince him to take the bit and install it, but he's too much of a wuss, so we need to do it ourselves. Well, I say that, but I'm a wuss too, so I make a robot do it. Inside the terminal, we struggle for ages to get the program list. I'm a genius, so I managed to sequence perfect the right time. I looked it up. The order is the order of planets in reverse order. Because of course it is, why would of course it is. Festus tells us that it's fixed, but it could be better. We can optimize their data in Vault City's computer. We need to get there anyway, so let's head back. We head back to McClure and he grants us citizenship. Oh, so now you assholes are nice to me. We head into the vault and we meet a woman, Phyllis. Dr. Sex can't... Fuck. Why is his name Dr. Sex? Dr. Sex can't contain his charm for long and they end up on a date, but she's rather dull and self-centered. We decide to never date anyone like her again. We can ask her about the whole lack of kids in Vault City thing, and she tells us that Vault City has planned pregnancy cycles. It's done via artificial insemination. We can offer to donate some of our, genetic material for some XP and karma. On the way down to the computer, we decide to loot the second level. We find a computer voice module, which I just know is going to be important later, so I grab it. Hey look, water chips. Shame I can't send those back in time. We make our way to the computer, optimizing Gecko's power plant, and we find the location to Vault 15. Oh, for fuck's sake. We quickly go to Gecko and give them the optimization disk and talk to this mechanic who wants a super toolkit that we got from Val. In exchange, he gives us a fuel cell controller so we can get that car in the den running. For the last time, we drag ourselves back to the den, let Carl know that he can go home, and then we pick up the car. Yeah, now we're flying. Vault 15, here we come.
Get in, loser, we're going shopping.
This doesn't look like a vault. We find an older woman, Rebecca, who tells us that her daughter is missing, but she wants to talk somewhere private. We go into her tent and she tells us about her daughter, Chrissy, who's been missing for a week and nobody's seen anything. The mayor told her to stop looking. He said it wasn't safe for her to search and would have his men do it instead, but they didn't find her either. We offer to help her, but she notices a shadow on the tent wall. Someone was listening. We chase after them, but we encounter a woman in the trees. This woman's name is Dahlia, and she's not being very helpful. Come on, a girl's life is at stake here. She relents, having lost her daughter before. She tells us that the guy went past and she lets us through too. Thanks, Dahlia. I asked this guy if he's seen a lost girl, and he says that he has a girl locked up in the back and him and his guys have been having fun with her. Huh, he randomly just collapsed with his eyes gouged out. Weird. We steal the key off of his corpse and head into the shack. We unlock the door and let Chrissy out. Turns out that these raiders, the new Khans, have been lying to the squatters and pretending as if they're helping them. Zeke, the squatter leader, wants to see us. He gives us a keycard to get into Vault 15. Jesus, Vault 15 is hard. I had to take a detour to New Reno just to suit up a bit better. Fuck this vendor, by the way. I hit him really hard until he stopped moving and set my boys up. Well, not hubby, but the rest of them. Alright, let's wipe these fuckers out. Davin! Poor guy got off-screened. We violently remove the raiders and use the leader's computer. There's a ton of detailed reports on the NCR. Looks like they have a spy. We look at the library computer terminal, which gives us a location of Vault 13. On the way to Vault 13, we pop into the NCR. You gotta put your guns away here or you'll be attacked. Your companions too. Luckily, we don't need to spend a lot of time here. We go directly to the Congress House. We tell this plain-looking man that we have details on a spy in the NCR. He kinda says, damn, that's crazy, and walks off. We then tell the A. Gunther that we found a spy in the house. He asks for evidence, and we hand it over for $4,000. Wow, okay, thanks. We also say that we want to talk to the president about Vault 15.
I'm Tandy, president of the New California Republic. Welcome to Shady Sands. I hear some pretty impressive things about you.
Tandy? As in Aradesh's daughter? Yeah, I mean, it's been 80 years, but that's her. After the Vault Dweller wiped out the Khans and saved Tandy, Shady Sands grew and expanded. Before long, they created a nation, an actual republic in the wasteland. Tandy agrees to help out the squatters outside Vault 15. You might have noticed that throughout the game we have not been using bottle caps. That's because they're now obsolete thanks to the NCR introducing actual real money back into the wasteland. You might be wondering why I'm wearing robes. Well, on my way to Vault 15, I ran into a bridge keeper and I had to do a Monty Python reference and pulled an Uno reverse on the bridge keeper. Vault 13. It feels weird being here again. We head inside and Jesus Christ! Oh, it's talking Deathclaw. Cool. Why can they talk? I do not see that this is relevant to our conversation. This thing's lucky it could kill me before I could pull out my hammer. Anyway, we tell Goris that we need a Gek and he has no idea what that is. We ask if we can look around, but he tells us that he doesn't want us wandering around. We use our special technique. He tells us that they have a computer issue. The machine that understands questions has failed. Oh, it must be voice activated. I guess that module was important. We can just fit that part in real quick and hopefully find the Gek somewhere around here. On the third level, we find a hooded figure, Goris. We speak to him and he explains why the Deathclaws can speak. A group called the Enclave increased the Deathclaws' intelligence in order to make the perfect killing machines using the FEV. Fast, dangerous, deathly intelligent, but they made them too intelligent. Smart enough to be a threat to the Enclave. That's stupid. But hey, at least it's explained. Goris here is a scholar and he'd like to travel, but he doesn't want to brave the waste alone. Well, since my husband bit the bullet, we have a slot open. I know I normally explain companions' combat abilities right after recruiting them, but I'll keep this a surprise for now. We continue to the central computer and we just kind of shoved the module in. On our way out, we loot a few of these lockers, grab these navcom parts because they look useful, and oh, the Gek! Easy. Let's get this back to Arroyo.
Chosen, do you hear me? The village dies. All of our futures die too. We have little left in both time and essence. Hurry. Hurry.
Oh no. We book it back to Arroyo, but it's too late.
Chosen, the shadow of darkness arrived before you. Too many seasons and too many wounds, Chosen. Instead, you must listen. Dark souls came. They took everyone. A rush of wind came. On it were great dragonflies that spat flame. Evil men crawled from the beasts' bellies and brought death to our warriors. The spirit was willing, but the spearheads were weak. The evil ones burned our warriors with the lights of hell. All were dead or taken. My spirit returned to flesh only to reveal the truth to the chosen. A strange mist stole their minds and sent them to the land of sleep. The evil ones walked among the dreamers, yet did not dream. The beasts swallowed all, then took to the winds. Did you never listen when I taught you the yearly dance of the wind spirits? South, of course. Yes, they traveled the wind south. I overheard the dark souls speaking. They plan to rest their beasts at a place named Navarro before crossing the great basin of our Earth Mother's tears. For me, nothing. Chosen, you must seek the fold of the Dark Ones and rescue our people. You are the Chosen. You must do.
Our village was kidnapped, and we're gonna get them back. I was expecting a military base, not a gas station with a guy in robes. Apparently there's nothing around here except wasteland and radiation. Civilization to the south? They must be down there then. We get interrupted by an Enclave patrol. That confirms it then. Those people in power armor from the intro, from that thing in the wasteland, and the ones that enhance their death claws, they're the Enclave. We must be close to their base. On a cooler note, did you see Gorus? Yeah, he's a Deathclaw. As such, he is a monster in close quarters. He can attack multiple times per turn. His defense is nothing to sneeze at either. He can't use weapons, but he is a weapon, so he doesn't need it. When we arrive in San Francisco, Gorus needs to return to his pack and he leaves the party. We'll catch up with him later. We head into a store and ask if they've seen any vertibirds lately. They have, and they say that it flew over the horizon. How the hell am I going to get over there? Well, apparently there's an old tanker on the docks. Should just need some fixing up. Interesting. Hey, it's one of those Brotherhood outposts again. I bet this guy will turn me away too. Oh my god, he wants to talk to me. He tells me about the Brotherhood's history since the first game. They stagnated and their position as a superior faction in the Waste has fallen since the rise of the Enclave. They have nothing to counter the vertibirds though, and that's where we come in. He wants us to infiltrate the Enclave base in Navarro and steal the plans for the vertibird. We were going to do this anyway, but he gives us an idea. Navarro is a new base and they're still getting people transferred over to work there. We could impersonate new personnel. We're very, very good liars, so that will work. We tell the boys to wait here and we go and deal with the base.
This look like a good place to sit back for a bit.
We speak to that guy Chris again. We pretend to be a new recruit and try to ignore his racism. He tells us to head down to the rocky path to avoid the traps.
Halt! This is federal property. No admittance without proper authorization.
We tell this guard that we're a new recruit and he sends us off to speak to the drill chief. God, all these people in power armor are really off.
Welcome to Camp Navarro. So you're the new replacement. You are out of uniform, soldier! Where is your power armor?
I don't have any.
Don't have any? You expect me to believe that, maggot? The truth is, you lost an expensive piece of Army-issue equipment. That suit is going to come out of your pay, and you will remain in this man's army until you are 510 years old, which is the number of years it will take for you to pay for a Mark II powered combat armor you have lost. Report to the armory and have a new suit issued to you. Then report back to me, Private. Dismissed.
Yeah, you got it. We run away from that guy. He would tear me 3 new arseholes, and then 1 more just to store his ammo in. Man, advanced power armor, just like that. I'm not complaining. Now we're in power armor, no one's going to question us, so we do a few things. We release an intelligent Deathclaw by using this keycard and killing this guy because he's a prick. We get the plans by bluffing that someone called Rule has lost the plans again. We lie our way into this locker and take the key fob. And we get a motivated unit for this Cyberdog.
Where is the doctor?
With the plans, a clearer conscience, a fob and a new dog, we run out the back exit and head back to San Fran. We head back to the Brotherhood outpost and deliver the plans for a ton of XP and access to the bunker. We can head inside to find another set of power armor. See this big machine? You can bring in memory modules to increase some of your special stats. It only increases strength, charisma, perception and intelligence, and only if you have the modules. I head back to the shopkeeper from earlier and see that he has 2 sets of power armor. I'm pretty much in the end game. You know what? His pockets are too empty. Let me just fill these. Oh no, he's dead. What happened? Anyway, now his entire stock is ours for the taking. Jeez, I've killed 3 shopkeepers. 2 of them deserved it. We suit our boys up and get ready for the last stretch. Those guys are set up, but I feel like I need some mutated blood in my party. There's a few companions in a few locations, so let's leave it up to chance. Perfect. We head over to Broken Hills and use our special technique and solve a few problems in town. We talk to this super mutant Marcus, who's the sheriff of Broken Hills.
What do you want, human?
He founded this settlement after the defeat of the Master, who was wandering around aimlessly until he found a Brotherhood of Steel member called Jacob. They fought for a long time before eventually realising how futile it was. They became friends and wandered together. Eventually they picked up more and more people before settling down around here to exploit the uranium mine. See, mutants and ghouls are immune to irradiation, so they can mine the uranium really easily. We ask him if he needs any help and he mentions some missing people. We go and explore the map a little bit before meeting a nervous looking guy. He tells us that his wife has gone missing too. We'll help him out. Under Broken Hills is a large cave. We fight our way through some bugs, which is really easy at this point, and yep, that's dead people. Well, great. We inspect some of the bodies and we find a note. There's a conspiracy afoot, but that wasn't what I was hired to figure out. I deliver this note to Marcus and he can deal with it his own way. He says that the purifier is broken too, so we head over to Francis and offer our help. He needs the parts from New Reno, so I guess we'll head over there. While we're here, I'll give you a little flashback. When I came here to get that gear the first time, my car got stolen. I tracked it down and pretended to be a gangster to get it back. The guy who stole it wanted to install some upgrades, so I paid him for that and then killed him for jacking my ride. Now my car has more storage for all those shopkeepers I keep killing. Alright, back to the present. We talk to Renesco and give him the secret password to get the parts. We drive back to Broken Hill and we talk to Francis, who tells us to go install the parts. Typical. With our power armor, we managed to make it through untouched. Now our obligatory fetch quest of the area is done. We can head back to Marcus and see if he wants to travel with us, and he does. Marcus is a super mutant. Yeah, no shit. And he can only use weapons that super mutants can use. I gave him a plasma rifle. He has a ton of HP and a decent defense. He's sort of a liability if you give him the minigun, so take that away from him. Alright, just one person, or Deathclaw, I want to pick up before we get back to San Francisco. Let's head round to Vault 13 to get our boy. Oh no. Oh, thank God Goris is okay. What happened here? The security cameras recorded what has happened. You should check it. Alright, let's check them. It's that thing again. More Enclave goons too. Holy fuck, he just punched a Deathclaw in half. I have an awful feeling I have to fight him later. Goris wants to avenge his pack and we happily assist him. Our team is complete. We're as strong as we're gonna get. No more messing around. Let's go get our village back. Back in San Francisco, we go to the tanker and talk to the captain. He says that we need 3 things before this thing is ready to run. We need a key fob, which we stole from Navarro, navcom parts that we found in Vault 13, and fuel, which we don't have. He recommends we can get from the Shi. We go to the Shi temple and talk to Ken Lee, who says that we could ask their emperor, but we need to help them first. Of course we do. The first thing he wants is vertibird plans, which we already have, so that's easy. We give them to a scientist and we return to Ken, who wants us to go deal with the herbologist leader, Ars-9, fine by me. We go to the herbologist base and ask for the permission to join their stupid club. We ignore them and run to Ars-9 and throw our mighty hammer through his skull. This angers all of them, so I just run away. Back at the Shi, we're allowed to see the Emperor, who is a computer. Well, weirder things have happened. We can log on and direct the fuel to the tanker. We return to the tanker and go install our components. First the fob, then the navcom parts. Without further ado, let's end this thing. Alright, we're on the base. If Navarro's anything to go by, if I go alone then nobody else will bat an eye. Wait here boys, I'll be back soon. We make our way through the base, being careful not to draw any attention to ourselves. We see a group of Vault Dwellers behind laser grids, and tribals on the other side. It's our village, they're alive!
Chosen One, how did you get here? You must destroy the machine and kill the devils in this place. We will meet you outside. And Chosen One, if you have not found the Gek, seek it here.
You got it, Mom. We go down and encounter a room full of electric panels on the ground. If you stick around here too long then you'll die, so move fast. If you didn't get the Gek in Vault 13 you can grab it here. I left mine in the car so I have to grab it. On the next floor we have a genuine debate with a very tired man. He's developed a strain of FEV tox that targets irradiated beings. He sees us as mutants too. If we manage to convince him that his plan is ridiculous then he'll release his FEV virus, modified to work against the Enclave. Yep, there they go. I didn't do this since I need someone alive later. We can go into the presidential office and meet the President of the United States, which I'm sure was more impressive in 1998. Talking to the President is really interesting. He reveals a lot of things, like the plan to use FEV to wipe out quote-unquote mutants. He also discusses the true nature of the vaults. See, they weren't designed to preserve humans, that was just a happy byproduct. They're test chambers. Vault-Tec and the Enclave were never going to reclaim Earth after the Great War, they were going to leave it. The Enclave used these vaults to experiment on American citizens, so when they left to sail the stars there would be no unexpected outcomes. Some vaults, like Vault 13, are control vaults, but these are really far and in between. We've spoken for long enough, Mr. President. That's always so satisfying. We grab his keycard and continue to search for the power generator. On the next level down, we meet a man called Tom Murray. Tom is in charge of the power plant here. Great! I used my 10 charisma to convince him to blow it all up. 10 minutes, let's get out of here. We run through the base and see that some doors have opened but others have closed. We find a new path and run through the base, all while nobody suspects a thing. The barriers are down and the prisoners have escaped, now that all that's left is for us to leave. Oh great, Enclave officers. But they aren't immediately hostile. They say that Frank Horrigan is blocking the exit. Frank Horrigan is a genetically engineered super soldier, more machine than man. This soldier feels bad for us. I feel bad for you, mate. You're the one that's gonna die on this time bomb. Unless, of course, you want to help me get past Corrigan. Corrigan?
Hitler promised not to invade Czechoslovakia, Jeremy. Welcome to the real world.
Unless, of course, you want to help me get past Horrigan. Easy. Alright, boys, we're going. Oh, that's Frank Horrigan. Yeah, you know, the Deathclaw puncher. Killed those farmers for saying no.
You've gotten a lot farther than you should have. But then you haven't met Frank Horrigan either. Your ride's over, Mutie. Time to die.
Frankie, baby, let's talk about this.
We just did. Time for talking's over.
Fuck. This boss fight is insanely difficult. Frank Horrigan is a monster. He has 10s in every special stat, he has 999 HP, and his weapons are crazy powerful. Oh, and he's immune to critical hits bypassing armor. Did I mention that he's a forced encounter? You can't talk your way out of fighting Frank, you can't sneak around him, and you have to fight. Sounds impossible, right? Remember that keycard that we got? Well, we can use this terminal to activate anti-insurgency, which will focus all of these turrets to fire on Frank. Sulik and Goris bravely fought to the end, but they were killed by turret crossfire. Eventually, we whittle him down and he finally dies. He didn't die? He really is a monster.
You haven't won here. You and your muty bastard friends are gonna join me in a big old mushroom cloud send-off. I just triggered the self-destruct. The work will go on. You didn't do nothing here except seal your own death warrants. Duty. Honor. Courage. Semper Fi.
Ever heard of a boat? Rest in pieces.
After the Enclave's destruction, the refugees of Arroyo and Vault 13 resettled, building a new community with the aid of the Garden of Eden creation kit. Finding themselves hundreds of miles from their vault, the members of Vault 13 chose to join the villagers in establishing a new community, and their technical expertise, combined with the villagers' survival skills, allowed the new settlement to grow and prosper. 2 generations of the same bloodline were reunited, and their savior, the Chosen One, became Elder, presiding over the village in the years to come.
Once again, we get to the final slides. These are so great. I just beat the game and it's already making me want to replay and do things differently. I forgot to mention it earlier, but I returned with my boys to wipe out the Save Guild. Fallout 2 is built on Fallout's engine, so obviously a lot is the same. I still love the art style and the graphics have aged pretty damn well. I really like the added detail in the world. The Temple of Trials, while frustrating as hell, is really, really intricate. The world overall just has way more detail. In Fallout 1, random encounters had a variety, but there was only about 4 locations it looked like. In Fallout 2, you'll see tents, shacks, forests with dead trees. Sometimes a coast encounter will intersect with the mountain encounter and you can actually go inside the cave. It's way more visually impressive. I haven't really had a better chance to discuss this, so I'll put it here. I'm really upset about the fact that I can't use this helmet. It's so cool and it would fit super well into the game, but it's just nowhere to be seen. In the entire series, the closest thing we have is the salvage power armor, or maybe the tribal power armor, but neither of them have these cool ass helmets. Let's talk about sprites real quick. The game characters have to be represented by sprites, which is fine, I like the sprites, but what's with the characters having such clean clothes? Specifically the new Reno NPCs, black dresses, suits of different colours, boxing shorts, who's making these clothes? It's never explained, but in a post-nuclear world, everyone wears old clothes. The NCR and Enclave makes sense, they'd probably have people making clothes like police uniforms and suits, but a bunch of gangsters in an old bombed out shithole? I don't think so. I'm not a fan of the art direction in 2, it's all way too clean. Yeah, it makes sense. So it should be a bit cleaner, but it doesn't fit with the tone of the series. But, you know, it fits the tone of this game. Fallout 2 is silly. It's tonally disjointed and it fails to really keep either of its tones. Becoming a porn star in New Reno is a really fun thing to do. You can even do fluffing for some spare change. But then you can travel down one town across the Vault City, a city full of xenophobic hypocrites who literally keep slaves and try to maintain their status as morally superior to the very people that they enslave. It just doesn't really work for me and the tone is a real problem that I have with this game. Fallout 1 is a dark story with moments of pitch black humour. Fallout 2 is a misguided story with moments of morbid reality. The writing isn't as strong as Fallout 1. It's funny, but I don't really want it to be.
Who do you think I was talking about? The fuck? Who is it? What? I should kick your fucking ass. Who is this?
Fallout 1's humour requires you to go out of your ways to find its sillier moments, like special encounters being gated behind luck or low intelligence dialogue. Fallout 2 will smack you with 4 pop culture references that you don't get because it's not 1998 anymore. References, by nature, are funny because you get the joke. For you to go,
I understood that reference.
Because if you don't get it, then it's just not a good joke. Then again, humour's subjective and I wasn't raised in the last millennium. The music, as always, is fantastic. The new tracks are great and are done by the great Mark Morgan. My favourite are Biggest Little City, It's really foreboding and it matches the vibe of New Reno. It feels like the city is ready to chew you up and spit you out, if you're lucky. My Chrysalis Highwayman. It's just a banger, no notes, it just sounds cool. Many contrasts. The title is apt, it mixes everything about San Francisco into one without feeling too busy. I personally think that the bells and the instruments are representative of the Shi and their Chinese heritage. The chanting is something that wouldn't feel out of place by a bunch of phobologists, and the soundtrack is broken up by horns, like the ones that you'd find on a tanker. And Serenity. It's just a nice sounding bit of music. I don't feel on edge listening to it like the other soundtracks. It's not foreboding, it's not thematic, it's just kind of melancholic, but it's pleasant. Oh, and all of the new animations are really great. Like, that Frank Corrigan death animation was just fantastic. We're back here again. Now, I'm going to be controversial. I'm putting A tier. Don't get me wrong, it's fantastic and it's purely a taste thing. I just don't feel myself wanting to replay 2 as often as 1. I can appreciate that it's mechanically better, has a better story, it has more lore importance, and a more compelling villain faction, but the story loses me a lot. The early game is super rough and it's not that enjoyable before you hit the den. I don't agree that the water chip deadline is good, but I feel like a lot of Fallout 2 is just meandering around without a lot of urgency. Fallout 2 is a lot of fun, but it comes at the cost of the tone and the sense of dread present in Fallout 1. Fallout 2 feels like a fan game for me, like a really, really good one, but it's clear that it's not the same as the original. There's a lot of bloat in Fallout 2. I feel like it's trying to be bigger and grander than 1, which isn't really needed. I describe Fallout 2 as quantity over quality. Yet mechanically it's a league above the first. I enjoyed this playthrough and I think that you should play it at least once. The best way to play it in my opinion is using the unofficial patch updated with these mods. Majority of Fallout 2 fans recommend the restoration patch, but I don't really like it. It restores a bunch of cut content, but like, there's a reason they were cut, right? I don't want to discredit the work that the dev team did on the restoration pack. It fits seamlessly into the world, but it's just not really for me. Fallout 2, in my opinion, is at its best in the mid-game. Early game has good quest design, but you feel so underpowered that you can't enjoy any combat. Late game has a decent power fantasy thanks to all the gear that you can get, but quests are borderline impossible without a guide. Maybe that's just my zoomer brain, but it's just really frustrating. Fallout 2 is more like an open world than a linear story, which is fine, but the main quest is hard to follow. I really had to try not to metagame and skip sections. Like, I know where Vault 13 is, but having my character figure it out is just way too difficult. Also, there's only one female companion in this game, and she sucks too. Come on, guys. I hope Tactics does better with this. Remember earlier that I said that I asked a bunch of questions to Adam Dravian? A majority of the fanbase claims that the Restoration Project is the way to play Fallout 2. Do you agree? I'm obviously a bit biased, but yeah, I'd say the Restoration Project is the best way to play Fallout 2. I also use Phobos 2077's Economy and Combat Rebalance mod. I recently watched a Twitch streamer play through the RP, which was an interesting experience. There are definitely things that I'd change now if Killap ever came back out of hibernation, but I'm overall proud of it. I was wondering if you had any fun anecdotes on voicing Cassidy. It was a bit of a stretch for me in my 20s to be voicing a grizzled old dude, which is why others pitch shifted my voice down to be lower. I recorded all of Cassidy's lines after a modder reached out to me. I figured it would be worth trying, since now I'm in my 40s and perhaps I could get away with not downshifting my voice. I sent him a sample of it and I never heard back from him. He sent me the sample, here, listen.
Well now, I ain't seen you around before, stranger. Name's Cassidy. I run this place. What can I do for you?
What are you working on now? I'm friends with a successful Australian Twitch streamer, and we're in the pre-production of a video game about streaming, but we haven't announced anything, so I should shut up about that. What do you think of the modern games? I thought Fallout 3 was embarrassingly derivative of 1 and 2, seemingly afraid to come up with its own ideas, and instead shoehorning everything it could from the first 2 games, in spite of it taking place on the opposite coast of the US. New Vegas, on the other hand, is amazing and the game that I've probably put the most hours into. This is going to be a letdown, but I've not played 4 or 76. How did you manage to fit the feel of Fallout 2 into the RP so effortlessly? My role in the RP was not just as a lead rider, but as a lore guardian. I made it a priority that everything in the RP fits with the established lore and the tone. Sometimes I had to fight for that, but I always ended up successful. I paid attention to the way that the original devs wrote dialogue and I tried to emulate that. I know I was too wordy at times and I'd change that if I could redo it now. I'm really glad to read you say that they seemed effortless and we matched the tone. As for how I accomplished that, I paid attention and paid respect to the original games. It probably helps as I'm a fan of much of the same source material that inspired the games in the first place. Anything you care to say to anyone watching this video? I'd just like to tell anyone who appreciates the RP, thank you so much. It was a labour of love and I hope that shows.
Well now, this is Adam Dravian, OG voice of Cassidy here. Just wanted to thank Tubbs for reaching out to me and asking for my insight on the Restoration Project. Thank you to anybody who enjoyed it. Goodbye.
Thanks so much for your time, Adam. I really appreciate it, and I'm sorry for bugging you so much over the Christmas season. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Thanks a lot. I know my mic is really bad at this point. It's because I'm doing a quick recording at the end of actually editing this video, because that was about 3 weeks ago that I originally but the voiceover. I've been really busy with work and everything, but I really appreciate you guys being so patient for this video. I hope the wait wasn't too bad. The next video is Fallout Tactics, which is going to be really unique since I've never actually played it. And, you know, at the beginning of the video when I said 100 views in 24 hours, that was, like, more than my goal for weeks. And now this video, the first video, is at 23,000. And that's just an insane number. I can't get my head around that. I've got 550 subscribers and it's got 1,000 likes on it, and that's just mind-blowing. Thank you so much for your support. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share with your friends, and thanks. Just thank you.